1490 KMET.
The Inner Voice Show is a dialogue between the host and the listeners about their relationships. This show is not an attempt to assess, diagnose, or treat any mental health or illness condition. Please consult your physician, psychiatrist, or psychotherapist for personal matters.
Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat with Dr. Foojan.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Inner Voice Show. I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine, and I'm a psychotherapist, an author, and the originator of the Awareness Integration Theory. And hello to Sean, our director at our studio. This is a show about what matters most in our life, our minds, our thoughts, feelings, actions, relationships, and our fulfillment, this beautiful journey of life. Today, I will share the tip of the week about how we can handle fear of just kind of being with it. And then I bring you Nathaniel Garrett Novosel. He's the author of the multi-award-winning book, The Meaning of Life. He's been analyzing the drivers of human senses of meaning for over 30 years. And his book, dissecting 8 core factors, has won over 11 Book of the Year award. And additionally, he has advised the world's leading executives for over 17 years and was recognized as the Advisor of the Year in 2019. His mission is to help any and all people who are looking for more meaning in their lives to get support, with unbiased support in figuring it all out for themselves. And then you have asked the question. I will share with you what you need to do to get prepared to finding your mate in the Ask Me segment. And then I'm excited to bring you Dr. Patricia Newsome. She's a pioneer at the synthesis of science, holistic health, and contemporary spirituality. She's distinguished herself as a practitioner, educator, and research scientist, and has been an influential force in shaping the landscape of healthcare options available. She is the founder of Transformational Medicine, a whole person approach to health and well-being, offering tools and resources for individuals and communities in person and online. And today we'll talk about her latest book, Beyond Medicine. I love to hear from you. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel and podcast and connect with me through any of the social medias that I am there through Dr. Foojan Zeine. Again, I love to hear from you. But first, here's the tip of the week.
Have you ever wished you could just wake up one day, reach across your nightstand, and hit the life reset button? Let's face it, the struggles and frustrations of everyday life leave millions of women and men around the globe yearning for a new way. And the new way is right here in Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want, by Dr. Foojan Zeine. You can get it now at foojan.com or amazon.com. Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want. You deserve it. This is to all of you therapists, counselors, coaches, and teachers out there, offering you my latest book, Awareness Integration Therapy. Clear the past, create a new future, and live a fulfilled life now. Every person that reaches out to a psychotherapist, a counselor, or a coach is seeking to learn skills that can be utilized daily to foster a successful and fulfilling life. So this book offers an effective tool to all psychotherapists and coaches for supporting their clients to become aware of their inner process and to be accountable for it, as well as the results in all areas of their lives with the utmost level of care and acceptance. This is a must-read for all of you clinicians and coaches who desire to offer a deep therapeutic work in a brief period of time suited for this era.
Here's a tip of the week. I just came back from 12 days from a resort in Colombia where I went through a lot of different types of transformation. And it was very interesting because it was a combination of self-awareness, releasing, walking into a consciousness and awareness of who we are inside, walking into another kind of realm of spirituality. And what I learned a lot through this past 12 days is that our fears keep coming up. And as long as we haven't really worked toward and through the fears, that they're always sitting there waiting. We usually have a way of working with fears as if I'm going to bring my strength and courage and kind of push the fear away and shove it somewhere into a closet where I don't want to see it, where I want to deny it, or I want to avoid it. And this 12 days brought me into facing each one of them, letting them go, purging them. And what I learned was more like sitting still while they came and went was enlightening versus trying to defy them, change them, argue with them, or battle with them, or tell them that they shouldn't be there, to rationalize even with them. And for many years, I've been a therapist for 30 years, and I've done all of the stuff I just told you with all of my fears and my clients' fears. But it was interesting. The stillness of watching a part of us, which is obviously emotions and has a lot of thoughts and rationality behind it. And it could be that our fears that we experienced because something happened to us, or that it wasn't even ours. It was maybe our parents' fears, or maybe it was the community fear. Maybe it's a cultural fear that showed up. And we took it on. We actually took it on and have reactions to it. We become righteous about the fear, and that it is what it is, and we have to, I have to defy it, even with the fear of death, which almost every single human being have. And as I watched the fear show up, give the gift of whatever it was, and watched it, felt it, and then watched it again, and not made it wrong, but it was more like, I get it, that a part of me has this experience. It kind of dissolved in a sense in front of me. And then it was like, okay, well, if this is not the one that I want to subscribe to, then what is it that I like to subscribe to? But it wasn't this time about denying this and moving to the positive. It was accepting it and moving to the positive, as if it was a beautiful part of me, that it was just coming up to talk. And the moment that I watched it come and talk, then it dissolved. As I said, even the fear of death. There were many days during that 12 days that I actually thought I'm dying. My heartbeat and my breathing had completely changed. And it was interesting that at one point it was like, okay, well, then goodbye. I hear you, you're right here. And if that's the case, then all right, I'm dead. And that concept of just being with it, it changed a lot of things at that moment. So being with it, passing through it, created the courage, versus the other way was creating the courage to almost like go battle it, versus just being with it, allowing it to be and moving forward. It was a profound experience, and I just wanted to share that with you. And I also got it that in order to be that still in the mind, it was through examining all of these fears and allowing them to show up. And that's how the stillness stayed. It was the most beautiful experience. I wish it upon you. I don't wish upon you to have all the fears show up for you, but I do wish upon you that you experience stillness. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Fujan Zain. I'm a psychotherapist and a life coach for the past 30 years, and I'm the originator of the Awareness Integration Therapy. I'd love to be able to support you in any matters of life that shows up for you that you need support. So call me at 818-648-2140. I am available to do online therapy or coaching, anyone who's around the world. And you can also join me in my office in San Clemente, California, if you'd like to come to the office. So call me at 818-648-2140 or go to fujan.com. I look forward to hearing from you and having the opportunity to support you in things that are in your life and you just want to excel and create an amazing life for yourself and everyone around you.
Hello again, I'm Dr. Fujan Zain, and I am excited to have Nathaniel Garrett Novosol with us. He is the author of the multi-award-winning book, The Meaning of Life. He's been analyzing the drivers of the human sense of meaning for over 30 years, and his book, Dissecting the 8 Core Factors, has won over 11 Book of the Year awards and accolades. Additionally, he has advised the world's leading executives for over 17 years and was recognized as Advisor of the Year in 2019. His mission is to help any and all people for more meaning in their lives, to have unbiased support in figuring out for themselves. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You touched upon a very, very important factor. I've been a therapist for about 30 years, and one of the concepts that I really sense when it comes to especially depression, there's a lot of existential conversation when it comes to depression. You know, sometimes the depression is definitely a chemical factor. But most of the people who are going through the depression, you can find this conversations about who are they, what is it that I'm doing, who am I, what is my purpose, what is the meaning of all that I do. And it shows up consistently in our day-to-day life. So how come you chose this topic to delve into and then bring it in your book?
Sure. So it all started when I was 5. My father disappeared in the middle of the night. And I don't remember how I felt about that because I was too young to have memories. But when I was 6, I went to see him for 3 weeks and 2 days. I lived in Pittsburgh and he moved to California. And when I came back, the first night back in Pittsburgh, I couldn't sleep. I just was crying and crying and crying. And it felt like someone ripped my heart out of my chest because I just felt empty and worthless and everything sucked. And I asked myself, what is the point of all this if we're just going to suffer like this? And I have an impartial, stone cold part of my brain that said, that's a fascinating question. What is the meaning of life? I wonder if there's an answer to that. So I spent decades. I also have mild Asperger's. I always joke it's enough for people to think I'm a jerk, but not enough for people to notice. But in all seriousness, I had to study human behavior to emulate it as well as I can. And so I studied psychology and sociology, and I also studied philosophy and all these other things. So a couple decades later, I was going from one job to another, and I asked myself, what wisdom I would impart on folks. And I started kind of listening, well, you need to have desire, you need to have the belief. And I started asking myself, what are some of the keys to things to take away? And at first it was kind of like, well, what are the keys to success? But I said, I've been studying this stuff for decades. This is kind of the point of everything, the point of life. And so what I ended up doing over a period of, it took 7 years to write the book, but took me many, many months to figure out the 7 and then now 8 factors. But I identified the 8 common concepts that underlie all philosophies, all religions, because they are critical to finding meaning in life.
Share with us. I know you talk about happiness, you talk about ethics. So share with us the 8 factors.
Sure. So I'll list the 8 factors, then I'll give you a brief synopsis of how they all fit together. So the 8 factors are growth, experience, desire, belief, emotions, ethics, support, choice. So to in a minute or so here to explain it to you how it all fits together. The meaning of life is growth. All living organisms grow. That's what they intend to do. It's what makes it significant. That's why you get lifetime achievement awards and things, because you award a lifetime of growth and fostering others' growth. And it's also the definition. You can go look up the definition of the word life, and the capacity for growth is literally part of the definition. But then it's not just that, because you can flex your finger 1,000 times and then flex it 1,001 times the next day, and it's not necessarily meaningful to you. So you grow through experience. That's the medium through which growth occurs. And you're guided to which experiences you want to have and which growth opportunities you want to pursue based on your desires, right? Like if you want to grow physically, go eat a sandwich, pretty straightforward. But then also gets more, maybe you want to dance or something. Belief sustains your drive and can also squelch it if you don't have it in terms of desire. So you need to sustain your belief, sustain your motivation and drive through setbacks and adversity. So you need belief. Emotions are a feedback mechanism telling you the relationship between your desires, your beliefs, and your experiences. Ethics are the rules you follow to live in a society with other living organisms so that you don't hurt each other. And then you have support, which is how you cooperate, not just to not hurt each other, but also to help each other, because you can grow exponentially more as a group rather than alone. And then finally, choice. At the end of the day, there are things you can control in this world and in your life, and there are things you cannot. And everyone knows the Serenity Prayer, and it's the wisdom of knowing the difference. And so the goal is to make the best choices you can with the life that you have, because your destiny, your life, your however you feel about it will be a result of those decisions. Additionally, you can choose to have meaning in your life. So meaning and happiness and all these other things are actually choices as well.
Beautiful. As you were talking, this showed up for me where I know that as a child, as we're growing, if all the environment is set up, to be giving to us, part of the meaning of life, it seems like our own expansion, right? Like building, figuring out who I am, building the ego, learning from my environment, and kind of like the sense of wonder about all that is. Sometimes some things happens where it takes, it gives us a jolt, like you were sharing about your childhood, where suddenly it's like, all is well, and then suddenly there's a jolt that holds us and says, what happened? How come? And if it's painful, many times we question, why is this happening? Who am I? Why is this happening to me? And then what's the point? And I think a lot of times when we go back and look at the meaning of life, we also get to this point of what's the point? And then we ask also, how come, what is the meaning, and why am I going through this, and why am I going through hardships? And then I've also noticed that this question becomes much more meaningful to us in a later part of life also, which sometimes we've done what the society has asked us to do. We've taken all the roads that was put beside us. And then we come to this point of what's the point?
Yeah.
I've done all of it, and now am I happy? And you talk about happiness as a state in your book, about questioning it, and then questioning that state of the being, and then how can I endure it, and what gives me, what type of being, what type of actions, relationships gives me that sustainable happiness that comes through finding the meaning, or assigning, let's say, a meaning to life.
Yeah, a couple things there. First of all, it's one of my fun contrarian points in the book is that happiness is definitively, objectively, and provably not the meaning of life. Happiness is not the meaning of life. Happiness is a feedback mechanism. It'd be like saying the point of going to school is to get an A. The point of school is not to get an A. The point of school is to learn. A is your feedback. And you can cheat to get an A. You can cheat to be happy. You can take drugs and so on and so forth. You're not really happy, but you think you are. You feel pleasure, right? And so any emotional indicator, any feedback mechanism can be cheated or hacked. So happiness is an indicator. So if you're growing in a good way, you will feel happy, you'll feel fulfilled, and that is the point. So the meaning of life is to find what makes you happy, which is a more accurate description. So yeah, I do talk a lot about you use your emotional feedback mechanism to tell you how it's going. Because if you're scared, then it's like, okay, you're afraid that you might be harmed. If you're excited, you're looking forward to something, a growth enabling experience. So it's all telling you feedback as to how you're feeling about the direction and trajectory of your growth. So if you're happy, you're experiencing it. If you're excited, you're looking forward to it. So there's all these relationships toward it. But the one other thing I'll mention is that in terms of you mentioned kind of understanding what happiness is telling you and those sorts of things, and you also mentioned a second ago about the about like kind of doing the right things and whether it's you think it's going to make you happy. There are two things about that. One is that there's that old saying of like, if you chase happiness, you'll never find it. It kind of gets to that whole thing about like people, they hear that go be happy or go find out how to be happy, and people go seek pleasures and things like that. And that's not what they mean. And so that's why you never find it because you're always looking for the next high. And that's not the point. But also you mentioned something, and I actually resemble that remark. The idea that if you just do the right things, ethics are critical but insufficient, necessary but insufficient to meaning. So like, for example, if you do things unethically, they can take away meaning. So baseball players in the steroid era are very famous for like, do you put them in the Hall of Fame? Do you recognize them? Well, no, their achievement wasn't as significant because they cheated. So it takes away significance. But if you do everything right, that doesn't necessarily make your life meaningful. And I know that from personal experience because I jokingly have what I call perfect child syndrome, where my mother looked miserable, single mother. I tried to do nothing wrong my entire life to make sure I never gave her any undue, stress, because she already looked like she had enough. And no one cares. Like it's not like I walked around and go, oh, I live full of meaning and purpose. No, I was just literally doing nothing to upset anyone. That's not significant or meaningful. So ethics are necessary but insufficient to find meaning.
So when you talk about finding the meaning of life, can you share from your perspective, because you kind of went into the deduction of that's not this, it's not the happiness, it's not, when you do the right thing, it's not, when you do it for somebody else, it's not all of that. And then so from your perspective, how do you find that meaning in life?
Yeah, it's about finding growth areas that matter to you, that you deem to be significant. If you'd like to use word, because this is a cop-out word, but care, find growth areas you care about. It's a cop-out word because caring is literally, the definition of caring is literally to give something meaning because you care about it. You therefore are assigning meaning. So it's a cheat, but finding growth areas that are important to you. And the way you do that is through experience as well. So just as experience is how you grow, it's also how you find out where you want to grow. So do you know if you like baseball or dancing or, whatever? You have to try it. You either will like it or you won't. If you don't like it, stop. If you like it, keep going. If you do it, if you're like, I always use Peyton Manning as a good example because people always ask like, what's the ultimate meaning of life? Like what they mean is the ultimate end goal. And that doesn't exist. Growth is perennial. Like it's forever, it's perpetual. It doesn't end. And so there is no ending. That's the thing that everybody kind of gets kind of in your face, like, oh, I did, no, there has to be a point. There has to be a final thing because they watch enough movies and there's a big climax and it feels great. And like, oh, there must be that like that in life. And that's not, that's not how it works. And so like I use Peyton Manning as an example because he reached the, pinnacle of quarterbacking in the NFL. And then, your body, it focuses on fostering others' growth rather than your own growth because you start breaking down a little bit. And he has plenty of other areas in his life to grow. He can be a pitchman or a businessman or a comedian or whatever. He can do all of that stuff. He can have kids and do all those things. But that part of his life is over. That doesn't mean his point is over just because he was one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. So people kind of conflate the meaning of life with some sort of big climactic goal that you should be shooting for. And the truth of the matter is that's the wrong way to look at it because there's always something more. There's always something else. And you can always find a new goal and a new way to grow and experience life.
I think part of what I'm hearing from you, I see it though in the where are you in life and where the goal goes. Because that's why I was saying as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult, your goals are much more personal. Even if it's personal and it's a smaller category versus even if it's your goal is to make your mother happy, that's still related to you. And I think that as people are able to achieve these goals, then it comes to a point of, usually midlife, 50s, 60s, and all of that, where personal goals, it's almost like I got it. I know how to create goals, create meaning, assign meaning at any portion of my life to that growth, enjoy the growth, see the achievement of it, and then find the next level and the next level. I've also noticed sometimes that when somebody landed that concept, and they still go into this kind of an existential abyss where like, okay, now what? Okay, I got it. I can have 100,000 more goals.
Yeah.
But still doesn't fulfill me. And I think that's when I see that somebody, and I've worked with clients, which is like, can you make a goal bigger than you? That it's, and then that's why sometimes you see people, in midlife and higher, that they take actually one of those amazing bigger goals than them, eradicate poverty in the world, because they know it's bigger than them. It's way beyond them. But it puts them into the path of the growth in a different way, where they know that the achievement is not just around the corner. And I've also seen that create the perpetual kind of like running after meaning of life in that way.
You mentioned two things that are amazing and really important. One is that if you're just doing it for the outcome, you may not like it as much as you think you do. If you enjoy the process and the outcome, then that's the optimal growth area that you should be focused on. And the reason why is that life is experience is one of the drivers. If you don't enjoy the experience, then but you like the outcome, it's going to be a rough going. But the second thing you mentioned is I actually write in the book a lot about greater meaning. How do you find greater meaning in your life? And, you could tell already I'm a stickler for definitions before I start answering questions. What does greater meaning mean? Well, obviously, everybody defines it as meaning beyond oneself. And so therefore, by definition, if you want greater meaning, you have to have a goal or a desire for growth or whatever you want to call it, making the world a better place or whatever, beyond yourself. So if you want greater meaning, help other people. It's that simple. It's no more complex than that. And the more people you help, the greater meaning you feel in that regard.
Absolutely. In 1 minute or so, is there anything we haven't touched upon that you really, really want our audience to know?
I would just double down on the emotions piece. I mentioned it briefly, but just to double down on it, emotions are a combination of your desires, beliefs, and your experiences. And the reason why I mentioned it is because using that formula, you can actually dissect any emotion you have. So just to give one example, if you're jealous, you usually have a desire for a thing or a person. You believe that you deserve to have that thing or person. More importantly, you probably believe that someone else who has it doesn't deserve that thing or person. And then the experience is you see that person that you don't believe deserves it with the thing or person you want. And then therefore you feel jealous. So the cool insight is that you can change any three of those and your jealousy will go away. You cannot want the thing anymore, as you know from Aesop's fables, the sour grapes thing, where those we're sour anyway, so I don't want them. You can change your belief. You could say, hey, actually that person does deserve that thing. And then you'd admire them rather than be jealous of them. Or you could change the experience and just leave, and then you don't see them and you don't feel as jealous. So use that to manage your emotions effectively.
Thank you so much. Everyone, Nathaniel Garrett Novosol, please get the book, The Meaning of Life, A Guide to Finding Your Life's Purpose. And where can they find you?
Sure. So I'm at yourmeaningoflife.com. At Life the Book are most of my social media handles. And the book's on Amazon and a bunch of other places. And then there's a new book we just came out with. It's a multi-author book called The X Factor. That's on Amazon. And I think it's on sale pretty cheaply.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
And don't go anywhere, everyone. Be right back. Great questions and sending it to me. A gentleman has sent a question about, I'm 38 years old and I have a lot of problems in connecting when I think about I want to start looking for someone as a partner, to marry. I'm 38 and I've been in a lot of kind of like, shallow relationships, as he calls it. And been there. And as far as wanting to find just someone to be with, I don't have any problem. But the minute I say I want to find my partner, all of these blocks show up, and I'm not really finding myself to go forward and get the relationship that I desire. This is actually sometimes a common concept, because what we know about a casual relationship and the criteria that we have is usually about a sexual tension or a sexual chemistry or our desire to have sexuality in a sense. And that's kind of like the minimum criteria that we have about getting attracted to someone. We're not really looking at all the other aspects of how does a person's personality match mine on a emotional level, on a cognitive level, on a spiritual level, on a financial level, on a socioeconomic level, which as a partners to be married, we need all of these compatibilities to actually have with each other. I've also noticed when I've asked people, what is it that you really want and what is it that you're bringing into a quality type of a relationship or a marriage, people just give me like 2 or 3 answers. Oh, if I just have somebody who's kind and we could love each other and, build a life together is enough. But love each other and be kind and build a life together, there's a lot of component in there. So I usually ask if you could please start writing a list. Imagine yourself in a day or a week or a year of marriage. And imagine the quality that you're bringing. What is it you're offering in that relationship? And what is it that you would like your partner to offer in that relationship? When you're looking at the quality of the communication, what are you sensing? What is the type of communication? What kind of listening and speaking? What kind of respect? What kind of love? What kind of trust? How do you define those things in a relationship, and how would you offer them? If an alien showed up and watched you, how could they know that you love someone? And how could you know, and what type of behaviors would you know that somebody loves you? How could other people by your behavior say that you trust them, that you honor them, that you value them? What is it that you need to see from your partner to feel honored and valued and trusted? When you look at, for example, the decision making together, what kind of a process of decision making do you visualize that it's workable, that issues will come in or life situations would come in? And how do you suppose you would like to work through and get the problem solved? And, as a partner, what is it that you need? If you have an idea about the finances of your life together, what is it that you desire? What is it you would like to propose? What is it that you're bringing to the relationship? So if you can start writing, envisioning and writing, and imagine, most people, when they start writing all of this, they go back to the things they don't like. Oh, I didn't like this about my parents, so I don't want that. Or I went to my first relationship, this was there and I don't like it. I get it. You didn't like it. That's not the ones we want to write. You can learn from it and say, if I don't want that, what is it that I envision that I do want? And then put that down. So because when you're looking at not wanting something, we're not going to get you that, but you're asking, what can I have in my relationship? The list supports you to know and be clear in what you want and what you can offer. And then when you go on a date, you have the criteria to look for. You can ask questions regarding these things that really matter to you, and you want them to know about you, that that's what you're offering, that's what you're looking for. And then you can ask questions regarding this matter to them. Ask them how they've handled it before. How do they handle different types of communications with their family, with their friends? So begin looking for the criteria that is for you. And then as the relationship moves forward, see if that's the quality that you're bringing into the relationship and that the person that you might like would bring into the relationship. You might need some practice. And you can only do this within a relationship. So don't shy away until you find the perfect match. Jump in, practice, and find all of this until you find your perfect match.
Have you ever wished you could just wake up one day, reach across your nightstand, and hit the life reset button? Let's face it, the struggles and frustrations of everyday life leave millions of women and men around the globe yearning for a new way. And the new way is right here in Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want by Dr. Foojan Zeine. You can get it now at foojan.com or amazon.com. Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want. You deserve it.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine, and I am so excited to be speaking with Dr. Patricia Musin. She is a pioneer in the synthesis of science, holistic health, and contemporary spirituality. Has distinguished herself as a practitioner, educator, and research scientist, and has been an influential force in shaping the landscape of healthcare options available. She is the founder of Transformational Medicine, a whole person approach to health and well-being, offering tools and resources for individuals and communities, in person or online. And today we're going to be talking about her latest book, Beyond Medicine, a physician's revolutionary prescription for achieving absolute health and finding inner peace. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure.
Tell us about absolute health. That just sounds absolutely awesome.
You know, I've come up with a term that I describe as absolute health that is really the key to navigating, key to dealing with everything we need to navigate in our lives, whether it's a health issue or a challenging circumstance or situations. And I call this state of absolute health simply peace of mind. Simply peace of mind.
That is so true, because when we do have the peace of mind, stress comes down, and then kind of your vision opens and listening. One of the things that I've noticed with myself is I have lost the listening toward my body. You know, I was sexually abused. I kind of left my body for many, many years. And when I was coming back to my body, the only thing, Patricia, that I was listening to was my taste buds. If they told me, let's have this, then that's what it was. It was
right.
And I wasn't checking with the rest of my body in is this okay with me or not? And obviously when the ailment or a sickness or a pain shows up, then it captures our attention and says, you know, you got to take care of me. And I've noticed this piece between, you know, where is it that I am actually beginning to learn how to listen. Let me say it this way. I'm beginning to learn how to ask and then listen first before I put myself out there. Which it takes a little bit of the peace of mind and the presence to even be able to do that. Share a little bit about how to get that peace of mind.
Yeah, well, that can be a challenge. You know, we live, many of us, myself included, we live a lot in our thinking brains and our heads. We do a lot of cerebral work. And the way we find that peace of mind, the way we experience that stillness where clarity arises, as you just described, where you connect with what the body's needing, also the place where healing happens. We need to be in a state of mental and emotional equanimity for healing to happen. The body will not heal otherwise. And the way we cultivate it is simply stopping what we're doing and pausing and just being here now in this very moment with whatever we're experiencing, thinking wise, feeling wise, sensation wise. Now that may sound simplistic or maybe woo-woo or maybe really not possible, but there are a number of tools that I offer in my book and I work with in my work to help us to stop and cultivate that being here now experience. And I describe what I call the 5 absolute health tools as some of those tools. Those tools are specific breathing exercises for number 1. Number 2, mindfulness and meditation. Number 3, journaling. 4 is called mirror work, which some people may or may not be familiar with. I first learned about it from Louise Hay, who was a contemporary spiritual teacher and healed herself of a quote, incurable terminal diagnosis, using the power of thoughts and emotions, as well as a number of holistic and alternative therapies. Mirror work is literally talking into a mirror, cultivating the be here now experience. And finally, mind body sensing. This is the fifth absolute health tool, which is a tool that engages our connection to our physical body. We drop out of our thinking brain into the sensations and awareness of our physical body. Where am I finding feelings in the body? Where am I finding feelings in the body? So those are 5 tools that I offer people to simply stop and pause and just be. But we have to stop and do them. Now, breathing is the most powerful tool we have to instantaneously experience that be here now experience, because I'm sure you know, and many of your listeners and viewers know, the parasympathetic nervous system is that nervous system that's toggled on that allows for rest and repair and rejuvenation and healing. It allows us to connect with our bodies. It gives us clarity and solutions when we're seeking clarity and solutions. And that's toggled on through various types of breathing techniques, most notably belly or diaphragmatic breathing.
It's the first thing that brings us into the present moment.
Exactly.
Many people, when we talk about present moment, they want to go and do this effort to like clear their mind. And obviously when you focus on the breathing, automatically, like it's almost like a cheat sheet. It takes you there immediately.
Yes, that's a great example. That's a great example. Yeah.
Come into your body immediately as you're doing that, and each breath kind of takes a different form. It ignites a different part of you. And as you said, the belly breathing, it's amazing that would immediately give our body the message that all is safe and it's okay.
That's right.
That's
right.
Put yourself in there. So all of the 5 factors you talked about has to do with bringing you into the present moment, into your body, and creating an awareness that you're not only in your body, but you become aware of your body, and then therefore a dialogue, a communication, a direct communication can begin to happen. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. The other aspect of it is simply being present with feelings. Simply being present with feelings. Often we're fueled by feelings or paralyzed by feelings. We're either driven by feelings or we're stuck by feelings. And I see us, and this is a common theme in many contemporary spiritual teachings, as either being in a state of fear or faith, being in a state of fear or love. And when we're in that state of fear, we're not able to be present and experience that fear. We're either stuck from it or we're fueled by it. So when we can be present in the moment and be with that fear, breathing can create a state of relaxation in our minds so we can be present with it. Mindfulness and meditation can create a state of calm in our minds so we can watch it as if it's a screen in front of us, like we're watching a TV or movie in front of us. Mirror work and journaling, these are ways to express those emotions. Mind body sensing is a way to find the feelings in the body. So it's being here now with what we're feeling rather than being run by those feelings or being stuck by those feelings. That those feelings can shift, that in fact we change our relationship to them. And what's most important to me as a physician researcher is that there's science that supports these exact phenomena. The science has shown in imaging studies, which I think is really exciting to me, but it also supports these as really powerful, really instantaneous tools, is that the brain part that is called the amygdala, which is literally the thermostat that measures and registers emotions, and the prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain that is able to say, wow, well, I'm feeling really scared, but you know what? That's just one aspect of me in this very moment right now, and it doesn't have to rule me. There's another part of me that can feel firm and faithful and worry-free. So these 5 tools actually have been shown to change the relationship anatomically, structurally, and functionally between the part of the brain called the amygdala, which is the in-charge reaction to scary stuff, and the prefrontal cortex. So instead of reacting to scary stuff by either being fueled by scary stuff or being paralyzed by it, we're able to step back and bear witness to it. And we actually change our relationship intercranially, anatomically, functionally, when we use these practices. And we don't have to be monks or nuns, meditating in convents or monks in caves for years to have these neurological changes occur. They occur quite rapidly. We don't have to be chronic long time meditators of going on retreats or hour-long meditations. The physiologic effects, especially with breathing, occur within minutes. Yeah. So that was a long answer to a short question.
Very articulate. Thank you. You explained that healing may be a return to a body or a departure from it. So the 5 elements is returning to it, coming to it, listening to it, bringing it into the equilibrium so that the healing can happen, or that it guides you. It tells you what you need to do in order to healing, or happens with saying bye-bye.
That's right. That's right.
Can you share a little bit about?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. That's an important topic that I go into in several places in my book. And it's a topic that not everybody in our Western culture may be happy to read about. Nor was it, and is it a topic that I was trained to embrace in my medical training, the notion of dying and death. In fact, the notion of dying, death was something that we harbalized. We harbalized illness, dying, and death. And in fact, we have created a fear around illness, dying, and death because we've harbalized it. We're not able to accommodate it as a normal aspect of being human, So what I offer is that healing may be a return to more optimal physical health, to improved health in the physical body. And that will also result in improved mental and emotional equanimity, because mind and body are always completely and ineffably one and linked. But healing may also mean a departure from the body, i.e. dying. And what's essential to understand is that no matter which way we're going, healing is always a return home to what I call absolute health or peace of mind. And it's from that place of peace of mind that healing happens. So if we're able to cultivate that place of peace of mind, no matter what's going on, and my book is full of tools and resources for doing just that. If we're able to cultivate that place of peace of mind, no matter what's going on, we're more likely to return to improved health. We're more likely to return healing in our body rather than departing from it. Because again, it's that place of peace of mind from which healing happens. And I also really address this notion that, again, that our culture, our Western culture, and particularly our Western medical culture doesn't readily, easily accommodate these aspects of being human, that sometimes the body gets ill and we die, and we sometimes experience the dying process as a prolonged chronic degenerative process. I offer several important points as well, that all diseases, all diagnoses, irrespective of Western medicine's beliefs about them, are theoretically curable. All diseases can be cured. Anything that's determined, that's deemed to be terminal in Western medicine, that's an incorrect proclamation. And in my book, I share the miraculous healings that have defied conventional medical thinking that I've borne witness to. And I share a number of miraculous phenomena supported by science that I've borne witness to, hoping to open my readers to the notion that miracles are the natural order of things. And what may seem like an apparent miracle is actually not a miracle at all. So that they can be open to their own possibilities for healing that transcend what they may have been told. So they can suspend their disbelief and be open to the infinitely possible. Finally, I do embrace this notion of being human and death and dying, but if we could embrace it with ease, we'd be more likely to remain healthy. And if and when it is our time to depart, we may depart with more ease as well. And we may experience more ease around the illnesses and the dying and death experiences of those near and dear to us.
You talk about everyone having a healer inside, and it seems like with the five concepts that you talked about, it's reaching that healer inside and allowing that healer inside to do the healing, actually, almost like getting yourself out of the space and allowing you to become the healer of your body and psyche.
Mm-hmm. That's absolutely right. And that's beautifully put. Absolutely. Yes, our healer always lies within. Our way to inner peace always lies within. That way is unique and completely individualized for each and every one of us. And we access that way, we access that inner healer again by surrendering to what is, by surrendering to what we're experiencing in the present moment, to be here now, as Ram Dass told us in the 60s, and as Eckhart Tolle tells us nowadays, to completely honor our experience of the present moment, no matter what's going on in that present moment. And it's in that moment that we access that inner healer, because it's in that moment that the body mind enters a place of relaxation, that place where healing happens, that place where you connected with your own inner wisdom that told you what you needed, that place that we all will connect to with our inner wisdom that tell us that what we need uniquely. So yes, it doesn't mean that we don't seek outside support. It doesn't mean that we don't use other medicines, Western medicines, surgeries, other therapeutic practices. In fact, we may very well use any and all of those approaches. But our way to determine our path, our way to know which way to choose to find our path to healing lies within. So we will get clear, we will find answers by stopping to pause and be, not by giving our power away to a practitioner, a therapy, a practice, or a doctor, but by finding our power within, which will then lead us to where we need to go.
And be the co-creator with even the healers, the doctors, the therapists,
right,
all of it. I think that it's taking, it's putting our responsibility aside to just say, I don't know, and fix me, versus, no, I can tell you from my inside, and you can tell me from your
right,
expertise, and then these two can come together. Because
absolutely,
no matter how much you as a physician or me as a therapist, want to do the best for our patients and clients, it's their experience that gives us the pathway to be able to do that. So taking that responsibility, being with yourself, having the knowledge of what's coming up for you, and then share with whomever is you choose to actually hold their hand, say,
yes,
is what brings it into the ultimate absolute health. So as I hear you saying that absolute health is the concept of the mind, the belief, as you kind of open your mind and you go inside, allow your body to relax, to come to an equilibrium, to talk to you, to share with you, and allowing the healer inside to share the wisdom and come like any other organism, that it knows how to heal itself, that it will either heal itself within that space, or that it gives you the wisdom of asking and seeking help from the outside.
Absolutely, absolutely, or a combination of both, right?
And in 1 minute, if we haven't touched upon something and you really want our audience to know about your work, your book, or your experience, your personal experience of how you got from the Western medicine and where you're going, and then opened up to this path of the absolute health, can you share that with us?
Sure. Yeah. What I'll share is a little bit of my personal history, which is really the reason why I am who I am today. My work is absolutely informed by and has been transformed by what I've experienced as a human being, navigating, being in a body, having thoughts and feelings. Two events were influential in my life. One was when I was in my early 20s. I was diagnosed with a chronic, debilitating illness and told that I would need to be medicated for life. Destined to be medicated for life. And at the time I was put on 4 medications to control that chronic debilitating illness. Fast forward today, I am not on any medications. I no longer have that chronic debilitating illness diagnosis. So That was a defying moment that taught me that what Western medicine held to be tried and true was otherwise. Earlier on in my life, my father had a catastrophic stroke. He suffered paralysis on one side and what's called expressive aphasia. He was unable to get the words out. That was when I was in my early tweens, and he was quite young. He was 49 years old and otherwise really a healthy person until the morning this happened. Nearly 20 years later, when I was in my 4th year of medical school, I bore witness to a cure that brought his speech back. It was remarkable. It defied what we believe about Western medicine and particular diagnoses, namely neurologic diagnosis of a cerebral vascular accident, which is what we call a stroke. So these two incidents, as well as other illnesses and challenges along my way, completely transformed what I understood about health and medicine and the constructs of Western medicine, and also what I understand about reality and what we understand reality to be. I came to understand that reality exists beyond our thinking brains and our 5 senses, that consciousness doesn't begin when we're born and end when we die. And the implications for this are tremendous in terms of navigating life. If we believed, if we knew, and I discussed the science that supports this notion, if we believed, if we knew that we don't only exist when we're in our physical form, but we exist in some aspect before we're born, and we exist in some aspect after we're born. And this might sound more like woo-woo and magical thinking for people, but hold on, suspend your disbelief. I do discuss a lot of good science that supports this notion. How might that change how we experience living? How might that change how we experience the notions of dying and death, that of ourselves and others? And I suggest that it might incredibly transform how we experience life and death and the prospects of death. There are many, many, many spiritual schools. And in fact, I think there's no spiritual tradition that doesn't accommodate these notions. So it can offer us great solace and comfort. Yeah. So in other words, I'm looking at my clock to see how much time is left. I had some remarkable experiences, and in fact, they informed my journey, and they actually inspired me to go to medical school. I chose medical school as a path because I wanted to be a conduit to new ways of knowing and experiencing health and well-being.
Beautiful. Everyone, Dr. Patricia Newsome, Beyond Medicine, a physician's revolutionary prescription for achieving absolute health and finding inner peace. Where can people find you?
You can find me at www.transformationalmedicine.org.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
And for all of you who are out there, create an amazing life for yourself and everyone around you. And until next week, bye-bye.